In a race for global supremacy, two juggernauts are locked in an unyielding battle that will redefine the course of human history forever. The US is facing one of the most delicate catch-22 situations in world history, where one small misstep could trigger a major shift in the global balance of power. After China's major advances in the field of artificial intelligence in the past 6 years, one unsettling question is now on everybody's mind: what would happen if China attained unchallenged technological dominance? Where will this monumental clash between the US and China lead us? Are we prepared for the potential consequences of this epic battle? Watch until the end to find out, but be warned, the answer to these questions may disturb you. With the advent of deep learning that revolutionized the world of AI more than a decade ago, the US and China have adapted in very different ways to the highly disruptive AI technologies whose potential we have just barely begun to scratch the surface of. The US has adopted a relatively permissive approach to AI, and since technologies such as large language models and autonomous humanoid robots are still relatively new to the world, no official regulations for the use and development of AI have been implemented just yet. Although the White House did publish a blueprint for an AI regulatory framework in October 2022, these documents consist mostly of non-binding recommendations for AI companies. Several branches of the US government, as well as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, have started making progress toward drafting official regulations for the use, development, and deployment of AI systems, but it may be months or years until actual laws are passed in regards to the safe use of AI in the US. The lack of regulations and the novelty of these technologies has created a world of endless possibilities for the US, in which the government has invested in private companies to further promote AI research and encouraged public-private partnerships to explore and push the boundaries of what AI is truly capable of. This has been very beneficial both for the government and for AI companies themselves, as was the case when Microsoft signed a contract with the Department of Defense to provide them with cybersecurity, defense, and cloud services. The government has also invested heavily in OpenAI, the company responsible for ChatGPT, in order to continue promoting research and development of large language models. But a lack of regulation is not always good news. Since the launch of ChatGPT last year, several experts and industry leaders have spoken out about the potential dangers of unregulated AI. Elon Musk and other AI experts wrote an open letter calling for a nationwide pause in the development of AI systems more powerful than OpenAI's ChatGPT-4. The CEO of Tesla claimed that if unregulated development of these systems continues, we run the risk of creating non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us. This is where the situation gets tricky. While it would be highly beneficial to put a pause on the development of AI systems in order to make time for official regulations to be drafted, 6 months would be more than enough time for China to develop new AI technologies that would allow them to take the lead in the AI race. Let's take large language models as an example. Considering the enormous potential of large language models in any research-dependent field, such as medicine and economics, the fact that many Chinese firms have already created their own ChatGPT clones should be quite concerning for Americans. Recently, a team of MIT researchers used a predictive AI model to generate a completely unique antibiotic chain that, without the help of AI, would have taken many years to develop. If China were to gain the upper hand in the development of this type of technology, they could patent high-demand drugs that could be in consequence made unavailable to the American public, which would be absolutely devastating to the US health sector. Can you imagine if AI allowed China to create and patent the cure for cancer? What makes Musk and all the other experts that called for an AI pause think that China couldn't make massive strides in the development of these technologies in 6 months? The worst-case scenario would be for China to develop more advanced AI-based weapons and military technology that could pose a safety risk for the entire Western world. This is an outcome that the US government plans to avoid at all costs. There's 2 more big reasons why simply pausing AI is impossible from a practical standpoint for the US. The first one is that TSMC, the world's largest semiconductor chip manufacturer, is based in Taiwan. TSMC's biggest clients are all American companies, and the US benefits from a symbiotic relationship with the chip manufacturing company, as most of the Taiwanese company's production is made possible by intellectual property patented in the US. Now, China's relationship with TSMC is not as cut and dry. Xi Jinping has not been particularly shy about expressing his ambitions to invade Taiwan and unify the island to the mainland, and after the US banned the export of advanced semiconductor technology to China, the relationship between TSMC and China has become even more complicated, to say the least. If the US were to pause AI development for 6 months, TSMC would be forced to find other customers to fill the hole that Apple, Nvidia, and other major US tech companies would leave. Despite the export restrictions, business is business, and China would surely seize the opportunity to re-establish commercial relations with the chip manufacturer, which could spell disaster for the US. The other big reason why pausing AI in the heat of the race for technological supremacy between the US and China is a bad idea is that it would leave the door open for a massive brain drain. As of right now, 29% of the best AI researchers in the world are receiving undergraduate degrees in China, but less than half of those people actually stay and work in China, as the American dream is oftentimes more attractive. Because of this, about 60% of the top AI researchers in the world work for US companies and universities. If the US were to pause AI development for 6 months, even if they continued paying their unemployed researchers full salaries, this would still be an opportunity for the Chinese government and Chinese firms to lure their big brains back home with juicy work offers. China has demonstrated a strong commitment to the development of AI and has announced plans to become the undisputed global AI leader by 2030. The government certainly seems to be serious about attaining this goal, as it has invested very heavily in AI companies over the past 6 years. In contrast to the US, however, China has already passed official regulations on generative AI, which limit the power of private AI companies, but at the same time grant the Chinese government more control over the information that can be obtained through these models. For example, one regulation states that AI models that allow users to spread information that leads to the subversion of state power or that goes against socialist core values will be banned. While these words and phrases have left many people wondering what exactly would qualify as information that could threaten the legitimacy of the state, the fact remains that the Chinese government's intention for AI is very different from the US. A large part of the reason why China is so fixated on developing world-class AI technology has to do with the government's ambition to implement their social credit system all across the nation. The SCS is a national regulatory framework that measures the trustworthiness of individuals based on their behavior, which is always under video surveillance. More accurate facial recognition technology means more governmental control over citizens' behavior, which is a big part of the communist agenda. This is a big part of the reason why China's most advanced AI technology is all focused on facial recognition. In fact, the most accurate facial recognition systems in the world are all Chinese, with companies like Taigusys, SenseTime, and Megvii having already developed facial recognition software capable of detecting even the most advanced deepfakes, detecting and identifying human emotions, and interpreting the social behavior of users. Many of the best speech recognition AI softwares are also Chinese, the research for which has also been largely made possible by the government. Some Chinese companies, such as iFlyTech, have developed speech recognition software that can transcribe human speech with 98% accuracy. As for the US, the country's main focus when it comes to AI is the development of foundational models such as GPT. Foundational models are the starting point for AI systems in any domain and require massive amounts of data for training. The reason why the US still has a large lead over China in this field is because of data availability. Because almost 60% of all internet text is written in English, AI models trained in English will always be more clever than those trained in Chinese, simply because of the amount of data they can be trained on. Additionally, as the text that the models are trained on becomes more academic, the gap widens even more, with almost 80% of the world's formal research papers written in English. This is the main reason why ERNIE, China's version of GPT, is not nearly as accurate, clever, or human-like as OpenAI's model. In other fields of AI, it's tough to determine which country is in the lead. Both countries have developed humanoid robots with almost superhuman abilities, with the US boasting Boston Dynamics Atlas robot capable of navigating extreme terrain, jumping at superhuman heights, doing backflips and carrying extreme heavy loads, and China boasting TaikoBot, the flying robot designed to assist astronauts in space. Even in the domain of lethal autonomous weapons systems, the most concerning and potentially dangerous domain of AI, it's almost impossible to tell who is leading the race, with both the US and China making remarkable progress. Last month, the Department of Defense announced that an AI bot had flown a fighter jet for 17 hours in Southern California. China has also made monumental strides in this field, dedicating its efforts to the development of fully autonomous unmanned drones and self-flying fighter jets. As some of this information on these projects is confidential, not a lot of details about these projects are publicly available yet. The potential consequences of this high-stakes battle for technological supremacy between the US and China are unimaginable. Tensions are growing as both of these world superpowers vie for global AI dominance, and although the outcome is anyone's guess, the aftermath of this legendary struggle will redefine the course of human history.